Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt and welcome to Games That Almost Were. In these videos, I will break down games that didn't do very well, but were just on the brink of being good. These are games that have visible potential, but suffer from a few crippling problems. I will discuss what they did right, what they did wrong, and what they can do to improve their next game, if there even is one. This episode is focused around Homefront, more specifically, the multiplayer of Homefront. It was developed by the now defunct Chaos Studios and was a spiritual successor to their previous title, Frontline's Fuels of War. Like its predecessor, Homefront did not fare very well despite the fact that a lot of work was put into it. However, much of the fanbase was impressed with what Chaos Studios attempted to create and applauded their efforts. So without further ado, let's discuss Homefront. First up are the weapons. Very few shooters give their weapons the level of polish that was seen in Homefront. A lot of love and attention was put into their design. They're magnificently detailed, and the unlockable weapon camos also look fantastic. Unlike most of the weapons in, say, Call of Duty, the camos in Homefront do not cover the entire weapon, which made even the most basic weapon skins look absolutely brilliant. Players were also able to choose from one of three versions of the red dot sight, the holographic sight, and the ACOG scope, and while they were all functionally identical, it allowed players to choose the ones that they liked the most, or whichever ones they felt went best on the weapon. Homefront also does feature some of the best weapon sounds in any game, and you would be hard-pressed to find anything that sounds this good. Despite the great design of the weaponry, there was not much weight to the combat. Many of the guns did feel light, and there wasn't much of a sense of lethality, even though their hits did deal high damage. And on top of this was a problem with weapon balancing. The shotgun and the M2000 sniper rifle specifically proved to be the superior weapons on the battlefield. The shotgun had immense range and high stopping power, and when it was combined with a specific perk, it allowed it to one-shot enemies at ranges that were probably better suited for an assault rifle. The M2000 sniper rifle came default with a thermal scope that made spotting enemy players across the map very simple. Combine this with a lack of idle sway while aiming, and the M2000 was a devastatingly powerful and accurate weapon. Although most of its power more than likely comes from its ability to take advantage of Homefront's poor map design. The maps in Homefront are terrible to say the least. In many cases, teams could watch the other team spawn, and if a player had the M2000, they could spawn kill with pretty relative ease. Poor map design was more than likely the leading cause for Homefront's failed longevity. Weapon imbalances and bugs, they can be patched, but bad maps, they have to be rebuilt, replaced, and that's just far more costly and time-consuming. One of the main features of Homefront's maps were their size, which is quite larger than most modern FPS titles. This was so that maps could more easily accommodate vehicles which were uniquely integrated into the game. As opposed to the vehicles just simply lying around the map for the taking, players actually had to earn them with battle points. And upon purchase, which was done between spawns, players would respawn in their selected vehicle and could pilot it around the map. Similar to these vehicles were the remote-controlled drones that players could use. There were 4 altogether, 2 of them being land-based and 2 of them being air-based. The ability to command drones was one of the main selling points for Homefront's multiplayer. And while fun, the choices are somewhat redundant and leave much to be desired. Homefront seemed to strive for a halfway point between Call of Duty and Battlefield, and using battle points to purchase a vehicle or a drone in the same vein as a kill streak was one of its decisions. Battle points could be used to purchase more than just vehicles. They were the way kill streaks were approached in Homefront. Instead of having to gain 5 or 6 kills in a row, every action awarded a player with a set number of points. They would then spend these points on various items such as rocket launchers, drones, support items, and vehicles. The best part was that players would not lose battle points upon death or changing loadouts, which allowed them to either use the points immediately or save them for bigger rewards. But there were very few choices available, which more often than not simply left players wanting more. The purchases were also mapped to individual loadouts, which at first sounds like a great decision. But since points are not lost, it would have made much more sense to just give players more options and separate them from the loadouts altogether. The main problem with the battle point system in Homefront was that a player's purchase could reward them with more battle points. Effective use of a tank or drone could allow players to purchase a new one immediately after their current one was destroyed. This led to a rich get richer, poor get poorer situation that is seen in other shooters with a kill streak system. This often created very unbalanced battlefields since, thanks to poor map design, a vehicle could easily spawn kill the opposing team. Unlike Battle Points, the Battle Commander mode was much more similar to traditional kill streaks. Battle Commander mode was essentially a mutator that could be applied to any game, and when players achieve a kill streak, they are given a star-based ranking and are made a priority target for the enemy team. With every star that a player accrues, they are given more buffs such as a flak jacket, personal UAV, and increased movement speed. But at the same time, more and more enemies are made aware of the priority target's approximate location and tasked with eliminating it, which then awards them with a healthy bounty of battle points based on the threat level of the enemy player. The Battle Commander streaks can be awarded to players, their drones, or their vehicles, and it really helped change the dynamic of the battlefield. But the perks gained from Battle Commander mode were not the only ones in the game. There were also a series of perks called infantry abilities, which could be applied to each loadout. Although they were similar to perks featured in Call of Duty, there was one slight twist to them. Instead of being categorized into tiers, they were each given a cost of 1, 2, or 3, and players had a set number of points they could spend to equip the abilities. Players would eventually have a maximum of 5 points that could be spent. But the selection of infantry abilities was somewhat anemic, and while the system was more flexible than Call of Duty's, there weren't enough options to take advantage of it. If you were to ask me to describe Homefront in one word, I would say ambitious. It was like Chaos tried to put everything they could into the game and didn't have or take the time to test it properly. Hopefully the mistakes of Homefront 1 will be taken into consideration when developing its sequel, Homefront 2. Unfortunately, Chaos Studios no longer exists, and the development of the game has been given to Crytek. I hope they treat the title with respect and take advantage of its full potential. That concludes this episode of Games That Almost Were. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. My name is Matt, and I'll see you next time.